Okay, if you're watching on YouTube, we will be starting in about 15 minutes at 4 o'clock Central Time. So just give us about 15 minutes and we will have Jim Landers of Landers Photography on to start Photo Tips Monthly on Foundation for Building a Price List. This is also a great topic if you are an artist. This way you kind of have another perspective on building that price list. Jim comes really at the art and creative world with a little more business background. So this is going to be perfect for anybody who needs that little more structured view of how to do pricing. And I know pricing is always a big question for a lot of artists and photographers when they're selling their prints. So be able to turn in about 15 minutes. We'll have Jim on. Hey, James.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Just wasn't sure.
Okay, Jim should be joining us in a bit. I was just talking to him a little bit ago on the phone, and we're gonna give as quick of an intro as we can to let him start right away. He's got to be off about 5:10 to make to his event.
Okay. All right.
So if you have
Um,
anything, what I'll do is I'll have him turn it over to us at 5:10, and we can, if there's any, if you want to talk about certificates or anything like that.
okay. Yeah, the certificates actually, I'm posting the updates for those right now. the file so people can start ordering those.
Yeah, so we'll do the search
Try to
because
go live with those today.
yeah, so we can do the search and the holiday deadline reminder that went out.
We got our opening now into the other warehouse.
Ooh,
So,
neat.
so we already have canvas in there, and
Oh,
tomorrow
wow.
we'll make customer service in there.
Wow. Be
So,
interesting.
okay, let's see.
I
I'm
sent
on
you the
a,
links to both the stuff already.
oh yeah, let me post that.
Yeah. Fill the room in a little bit.
Join via Zoom.
I think I'll go ahead and turn off the thing right now. Just
Let's see.
let me see.
Okay. You said you sent the YouTube link? Oh, here it is.
Mhm.
No, that's Zoom.
It should say the subject should say YouTube.
YouTube about 340. Oh,
Yeah,
YouTube.
after
There we
that.
go. Mm. It's,
Did you get your reception desk delivered yet?
no, I need it. I'm not sure when that's supposed to come in. I didn't ask Monica when she ordered it, but
Okay.
hopefully it won't take too long.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're up there now. The links.
Okay, great. Well, we just gotta wait for Jim to come in, and we'll be doing that. Have him. We'll try to get him to stop about 5 o'clock so that he can kind of give a quick description of next month's photo tips monthly.
Are we live yet on YouTube?
Yes, we are.
Oh, okay.
Right now, we have my screen up there, which is showing the dashboard for both of our presentations. So
Is
if
it,
you did miss, if you're on watching this on YouTube and you missed First Tuesday, you can go to our YouTube channel. And I noticed that we got another jump in subscribers. So we're now at 1,100 subscribers. So thank y'all for doing that. And if you can, please subscribe, hit the notify button. That'll let you know when we're going live. In case you're like me and you forget when the first of the month happens to sneak up on you. And as always, give Jim gives his time every month to do these for us. So if you want to give him a little like up on their comment, if you have any questions we don't get to during this live because Jim is going to be condensing this to make it to an event he has to go to, please put those questions in the comments and we will relay those to Jim. And we should be starting in about 5 minutes. I'm guessing Jim's gonna slide right on in there right at the start. So we're gonna get tuxedo Jim today. We're underdressed,
Wasn't he
James.
tuxedo Jim last time, or was that the
It
month
felt like it,
before?
right? These are the high end YouTube live events where we get a Jim dressed to the nines. Mm. And while we're waiting here for Jim, I know he's been a customer of Final Works for a good while and a friend to me and James for a good long time. So we had a couple of decades in there. And so we really appreciate him doing these live events every month with us because he just has something going on like every day. I mean, every day he's got several other classes he's been teaching. He has photo essay. He has a contest going on. I mean, he does the weekly lunch with a photographer. So he's got a lot on his plate.
Question, just you said someone had entered an incorrect email address.
Yes, on their PayPal for their payouts on
Yeah, when did they
GeoGallery.
sign up? Was it relatively recently?
Back their first sale was back in September, and their
Okay.
first payout was October 14th.
Yeah, I found them. Yeah, they're
Okay.
unclaimed, so we'll just have to update.
Yeah, she updated her email.
Yeah, we'll have to update it in PayPal. It looks like there were 8 transactions.
I think so. I can count
Yeah,
them. I sent the screenshot too.
let me yeah.
She has great stuff. She just started, like I said, in September with us, and she has about I think 38,000 followers on Instagram, and
Okay. Trying
yeah,
to think
she's
how
doing a good
uh,
job.
yeah, I'm trying to think how to because they're marked as paid in our system
Hmm.
already, right?
Yeah, we ran into this issue last year with one artist, so I'm not sure what you had to do then.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll send you a screenshot of this, and we can do a manual transaction.
Okay.
Um, I think that's what I'll have to do because I can't. Uh,
Had a party going on over there.
oh, you can hear everyone. Okay. Better. Let me go close the door. Trying to figure out this weekend, the weekend work schedule, because it looks like it's all hands on deck now.
Oh, I bet. Hi, Susan. Welcome. Glad to have you there on YouTube. If you have any questions, just use that live chat on YouTube and I will relay your questions over to Jim. And here comes Jim now. See, we got Tuxedo Jim.
Can you
We
hear
got the
me?
fancy version. He's like the fancy ketchup of Whataburger right now.
Oh wow,
Mm.
he is dressed. So what is Thursday? Is this like dress up Thursday
It's
every?
Dress Up Thursday. Did you not
Yeah.
get the memo? I thought you were the one who sent the memo.
Well,
Was
it's
was is
possible I did. I just don't remember.
you got too many things on your plate?
Yeah, too many things. Yeah, I must have. I forgot my bow tie as well. Yeah.
But Jim, I'm going to turn over control to you. And when you're ready to leave, you can just send it back over to me.
Okay.
If you can, if not, we'll just stop it from there. So let me give you control, make you host.
And I don't have the handout to send to you because something's wrong with my handout.
Oh no,
It's
okay.
like it all disappeared except for the first paragraph.
You can send it to me later and I can add it onto our YouTube later if you wanted to. But you'll be sharing it, so everybody should be able to see it. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And let's see, did it make you host already?
Did it?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it did.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Melissa, I'm going to cancel those because you have the totals, right? For that.
Yeah, I have them.
Okay, just send that to me later, and
Okay.
I'll
Send that
figure
out.
something out.
All right, great, James. Thank you. Well, Jim, I know you have your event to run out too, so we'll go ahead and let you run through about 5 o'clock. And if you want to, about 5 o'clock, if you want to give us a quick summary for next month's Photo Tips Monthly, and we'll let you get started. Just if you want to, James, give him a quick intro of how we have Jim doing these. And
So, okay, sorry, you caught me by surprise. We're honored to have Jim Landers. Jim, the man with the bow tie. We have here the incredible Jim Landers, actually, whenever he's wearing the bow tie. But Jim Landers is Finer Works official photo instructor. That doesn't mean he's officially teaching Finer Works staff how to photograph, because we're not a portrait studio, or we're not, but he does teach our users how to utilize photography. And that is from artists to full-time photographers. Jim has been teaching photography for over 20 years. He now owns and operates Landers Photo School, or Landers Photography School. And we are honored to join with Landers Photography School to be able to bring within approximately an hour and a half a whole photography course. Now, Jim offers, how many courses do you have?
There's over 120 different titles.
So he condenses some of these classes into approximately an hour and a half. And so, and out of 120, and sometimes he splits them up and utilizes, he takes one of his courses and provides them to our users, but and split up anyway. But so these classes are a great source of information. We repost these on YouTube. So you can go back and watch them even if you can't participate live. And so yeah, I don't know what else I can say, but I think that about covers it.
That's everything. There isn't anymore.
Now should I mean, I can add to it.
No.
You sure? I mean, I could talk about how great you are.
No, don't do that, because we want to tell the truth here.
This is true.
It is made for the internet.
It might overwhelm those that are.
I don't know what you're going to say. So
yeah. Listen, I'm not qualified to hear him speak.
Oh, you guys. Well, I definitely appreciate opportunities to visit with people about their art and how to make money with it, especially on the portrait photography side, because that's what I specialize in. A lot of the things that I shared are for all creatives, but my expertise, my experience is on the portrait photography side of things. And so that's where my examples come from. That's where my stories come from. That's where my classes are coming from. And like James mentioned a moment ago, we have about 120 different titles. Some of them are as short as an hour. The longest of them are just shy of 20 hours. So there's quite a bit of range in those. In fact, we have a program that puts a bunch of them together called a career photographer program. That's 300 total hours and takes most people about 2 years to complete, because there's just that much stuff available, and that much stuff to learn. And I still think that it's just scratching the surface of what there is to learn, because it's endless. You could start studying photography, just photography, not even the business side. Start studying photography today and have something to do for the rest of your life, because there's that much still to know, which is fascinating to me, and it's invigorating to me, because I have a passion that is a never-ending thing. I'll never know it all. There may be times when I feel like I know enough, but I know for sure I'll never know it all. But I want to continue to learn, and so yes, I take classes. Yes, I teach them, but I take them as well. Most recent one I took was within the past 10 days. So yeah, I do continue my education, because I know there's still more to learn. And I encourage you guys to continue to never stop learning. There's YouTube if you don't want to pay for it, if you don't find value in it, but there's also lots of photographers that have workshops and seminars and classes and all kinds of good things, in addition to myself that does, and I do it full time, and plus private classes. Today, we're going to be talking about your price list. And I want you to know that if you need any help with that price list, I can help even privately, because there's a lot of things, a lot of details in there that cause you to know exactly what your price is supposed to be in order to help you reach your goals. And some of that stuff is difficult to do in a group setting, but in a private setting, it's pretty easy to do. And I even offer that for free. And let me get the address to that real quick, and I'll post that so that Melissa, so that you can share it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, that one will work. This is a business assessment consultation, and I'll post that in the Zoom chat. And this is takes about 30 minutes to do that, but we'll go over the specifics of your situation in order to find the prices that are correct for your business. The pricing is an interesting thing. I think a lot of photographers, and I don't know about other creatives, but a lot of photographers feel that price is based on how good they are relative to other photographers, what other photographers charge, what other photographers in their area charge, what the market will bear. You hear all these kinds of suggestions on price. The fact is, the price that other photographers charge is it's completely irrelevant. Now, there are some industries, some photography genres where it actually does make a big difference, especially like event work and some commercial work. Yeah, it does make a difference there. But as far as portrait work, this isn't a commodity. So therefore, what other people charge is entirely irrelevant. It's why you see photographers with the extremely low, like under $200 prices, all the way up to those that have average sales of $20,000. It's why you see this huge range. I guess the main reason why you see the huge range is because photographers just don't know what they don't know. Creatives, we don't know what we don't know. We're not usually the best on the business side. Have you found that to be true, James or Melissa?
On the art side, definitely. I see it a lot. I think photographers have a little more of a, I want to say step-by-step process. So they tend to follow some kind of plan.
Yeah. Well, it's not a matter of it being easy to find your price, but it's certainly not difficult. And it has a lot to do with math, which some creatives like to avoid. Yeah. I understand. That's a popular thing with creatives. I come across lots of them that say something along the lines of, I'm not good at math, I don't do numbers, those kinds of things. And so they have this limiting belief, something that tells them I'm not so good at whatever that is. I'm better at this than I am at that. And so they kind of avoid that. You probably know, at least to some degree, that those things you know you're not good at, some of them you need to know, others of them you outsource. But when it comes to finding your price list, it's not something you outsource. This is something you must do for yourself. And there's several criteria for which to do that kind of thing, and things that we have to pay attention to in order to come up with a price list that's appropriate for us, that helps us to reach our goals. Now, there is no one price fits all, and I think everybody would be in agreement with that statement. I know there's some statements that I make that not everybody's in agreement with, but I think everybody is in agreement with there is no one price that fits all. But there are solutions for finding the prices that will cause you to reach your goals. Over 90% of the photographers and the few other types of creatives that I've worked with, over 90% have a price that is so low that it is impossible for it to sustain their business. 90%. That means probably you have a price that's too low to sustain your business. Now, what exactly does that mean? It's different for everyone. So there is no exactly in a group situation, only in a private situation, one-on-one, where I'm talking to you just like this, but it's just you and me, where we can actually define what that means to you, because it's defined by being able to decide who you are and what you want out of this life and what those things are going to cost. Now, money is an important thing, but it's just a tool to help you get what you want. It's just like a shovel is the tool to dig a hole. It's just the tool. Yes, you may be working hard to do something so that you can obtain that shovel, but the shovel's just the tool so that you can make the hole. And in this instance, yes, we need to make money, but it's so that we can accomplish whatever goals that we have set for ourselves and our loved ones. So whenever I talk about money, it's not for money's sake. It's because money is a tool to help you get whatever is important to you. Now, what's important to you? It's different for everyone. It could be you want a house. You want a bigger house. It could be that you want a vacation, or you want 2 or 3 vacations every year. Maybe you want a new car. Yours is having trouble. Maybe you want to put your kids through college. Maybe you want to have money set aside for retirement. Whatever your thing is, it costs money. So therefore, we have to put this into the plan so that what you're doing causes you to be able to reach it. Now, this is if you are a career creative. If you're doing it on the side, then you're considering other things for coming up with that income. But you still need to go through the process of deciding, who am I and what do I want out of this life? And what do those things cost? And not just in dollars, but in time also. Incredibly important, critical element, not just the end result, but the time it's going to take you. If you get the foundation right, meaning what do I want? What am I trying to accomplish? Your pricing will flow. It will feel right. I come across that often too, where someone says, my pricing just doesn't seem right. I'm not able to get this. I'm not able to get that. In fact, one person, I may have shared this on this show before, but there was one person, it was 7 years ago, who posted on a Facebook page. I don't remember which group it was, but it was on a photographer group page. And she said, I don't understand it. I am busy. I've got all the business I can handle. I've got no issue with getting clients, none. What I'm having a problem is I've gotten so many clients that my camera's about to give out and I don't have enough money in the bank to buy a new one. I think for most of us, a pretty obvious reason. Your price was so low that everybody wanted it because it was so low, but it didn't do anything to benefit you. So therefore, it was a win-lose situation. You were benefiting your client. Sure, maybe. I actually have a question about that. But you certainly were not giving a win to you. If you've got a price that is so low that you don't have the ability to sustain your business, this isn't a win-win situation. And in my opinion, everything you enter into, everything, business or otherwise, Everything should be entered into the win-win situation. You want to win, and you want those around you to win too. When you win and those around you win, everyone is uplifted. The baseline is uplifted. And this is what we want. There's an example that I give when it comes to defining who you are and what you want to do. And this concept is it helps with the general, but not the specific on price. But if you are going from the outskirts of town, wherever the town, the city is that you live in, if you're going from outside of town to downtown, and let's say it takes 20 to 30 minutes, depending on traffic or whatever, let's say it takes 20 to 30 minutes to go from outside of town, edge of town, to downtown, which is your destination. What you have done is given yourself the potential to reach your goal, because you've done two things: defined your destination, and two, given it a timeline. Most of us creatives have wonderful ideas all the time. Often, we've got so many that we're forgetting some. Our problem isn't coming up with ideas. Our mind's filled with those. What we don't have is the knowledge to tell the difference between what is right for us and what's just a good idea. For instance, in that example, we're going from point A to point B. We've got 20 minutes to 30 minutes to do it in, and that's about how long it takes. There are good things along that path, along that drive. You may see something that you like, that you love to stop at. Maybe you're hungry and you need a hamburger. Maybe you love coffee and your favorite coffee spot is along the way. If you didn't define where you were going, or if you did define where you were going, but you didn't define how long, how much time it would take you to get there, then you're likely to go do something good, because we as humans put good things in front of us. If you love coffee, that coffee shop is a good thing. There's no arguing about that. You could argue whether coffee is a good thing or not, but if you like coffee, then it's in your good category. And so if you didn't define your timeline, you're very likely to stop because it's good. That's why you must define your end result in every area of your life. Now, when I say end result, I don't mean when it's time to pass away. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about every destination, every goal you have in life. All your goals don't culminate and end at one point. You get to do them at lots of different points along the way, some of them concurrently. But you define all of them, put it on a timeline. This is when I want to accomplish this. This is when I want to accomplish that, and so on, all the way till you have nothing left to accomplish. You've accomplished everything with a timeline. Because when you do that, when you put all those destinations in and you put a timeline of when you want to have them, you have done the one thing that causes you to have potential to reach the goal. That combination of two things: define the destination and define a timeline. So when we're driving from that 20 to 30 minute drive to downtown, you know that that coffee place that you love is good, but it isn't right to help you reach your goals. And so you pass it. When you are passing by good things, this is an indicator, assuming you've done your planning, that you're doing it right. Because not every good thing is right. Without this base, you will likely never create the environment necessary to bring your dreams into reality. How do you guys feel about that?
Point on.
So I'm going to talk about a couple of things. Photographers, you know the cliche, you get what you pay for. most photographers, in fact, I'd say pretty much every single photographer, every single creative, are wonderful, caring, good people. They just could use a little help on the business side. That being said, I said earlier 90%. So it's between 90 and 95%. It's actually a little bit higher than 90. So about 19 out of 20. So about 95% of photographers that start a business will go out of business within 3 years. That's those who are serious about it. They'll go out of business in 3 years. Now, that doesn't mean they put their cameras away, that they don't enjoy the thing that they're doing anymore. It doesn't mean that even slightly. It just means they've come to the conclusion that there's no profit in it. They'll say there's no money in it, or I didn't find a way to make a profit in it. Chances are the reason why they didn't find a way is because they didn't study the business side as well as they studied the photography side or the creative side, whatever type of work they do. The business side is just as important. As far as amount of time, a portrait photographer will spend about 80-20, at least 60-40. And that's heavy on the business side compared to the creative side. It's surprising how much time you spend on the business side if you're doing it right. Now, there's ways to automate that cut down that time a little bit, but at first it's just extremely time consuming. None of the pieces or parts are too difficult. Time consuming, yes. Too difficult for you to handle? Probably not a single one of them. It's just that there's a lot of them, so it feels overwhelming. Let's say a photographer is charging $50 for an 8x10. I'm curious, does that sound like a lot of money? What do you think, Melissa? Does that sound like a lot?
For an 8x10, depends on what we did. If we have to, not just a print, what was a shoot? Was it a studio?
Perfect
Was it a
answer.
locale?
Perfect answer. Because it depends. Just like every other question in the entire universe that's ever been asked, it depends. What are the variables? So let's isolate that to a portrait photographer who's either doing on location work or in studio work. I can mathematically prove that independent photographer, now, if it's a high volume photographer photographing schools, this is a totally different thing. But if it's the low volume photographer photographing no more than, say, one a day, if you're charging $50, even $70 for an 8x10, I can mathematically prove to you you're going out of business. Prove it with numbers to the point where no one's going to argue because it's that clear. High volume is a totally different thing. You can have $50 as your price for an 8x10 then. You can. You can even include a couple more things, maybe. Depends on the volume. But the majority of people that come to me are low volume photographers. They may be photographing one a week, one a month, but almost never more than one or two in a day. Sometimes, so some are up to 5 in a day, but that's not the norm. But low volume photographers, where they're spending a lot of time with each client. The school photographers are spending, 20 seconds? So that's high volume. And I'm not talking about those in this scenario. But here's why. Let's say a family portrait photographer, just so you have a picture in your mind. You may not photograph families, but it doesn't matter because you can at least picture this. For a family portrait, a good photographer is going to invest time ahead of time. They aren't just going to show up and press the button because the neighbor could have done that. And the good professionals are going to do more work than the neighbor could have done. For a family portrait, a good photographer will invest at least 5 hours in prep and planning. This means time spent back and forth on the phone. This means spending time crafting emails. This means any preparation that you're doing directly for the session. It means drive time to the session if you're not doing it in your own studio. So you've got at least 5 hours of time invested before you've pressed the shutter for the first time. Now, you're going to spend maybe an hour with the session itself. Some of them are shorter, some of them are longer. We're not talking in this scenario about mini sessions, because that is a different thing. By the way, I'm going to define what a mini session is just so you can tell, so you know the difference. A mini session is something that is repeated, not repeatable. It must be repeated in order to fit the definition of mini session. It's not a matter of the time. It's a matter of the quantity. You've got to do multiples, one right after the other. Session, finish the session, another session comes in, and then another session comes in. If you drive out somewhere and you just do a quick session with someone, and then you drive back home or drive to a meeting or something, you can't call that a mini session. That's a short session. It's still a session. It wasn't repeated though, so it's not a mini session. I'm talking about regular sessions, no matter their length, whether they were 10 minutes or 2 hours. You have a time investment here. And so let's say that you invest between an hour or two. Let's just say an hour, because I almost never go over an hour. So an hour. So we were at 5 hours before. Now we're at 6 hours because we added one more hour for the session. Now let's add in another. The initial editing takes at least an hour, because you're going to go through all of the images. You're going to make sure that you don't show them any images you don't want to show them. You're going to cull through those and get rid of some. You're also going to take a look at those that are very similar and maybe take out those that take the ones, leave the ones in that you know are going to be best for your subject, for your client. Your goal isn't quantity. Your goal isn't to show as many images as possible. Your goal is to show them the cream of the crop, the best images that you have the ability to share with them. And so you're culling those images. You're doing some light artwork before sharing. Some people do extreme artwork on everything. It just depends on your process. But you've got a process, and your process takes time. That's the bottom line. I'm not telling you in this particular class what your process is or should be, because there is no should be. It's definitely geared towards you and what you want for your target market, the experience that you want for your clients. So you've got another hour put into the post-production work, and so we're at 7. Then the client gets to see those original images, and people do this part differently. I show my images in my client's home with a projector on the wall where it's going to be printed and displayed. That way I can show them the exact size, not just have them guesstimate what a 16 by 20 or a 30 by 40 or a 50 by 50 looks like. Nope, I project it in that exact size, so they know exactly what it is that they're getting. You can choose to do it however you want to. Some people do like post and pray, where they post those images online and they hope that their client buys them. This actually works in some situations, especially event work. But for portrait work, your client's not the expert here. And if you leave them alone during that decision, they may be choosing images that aren't ideal for printing in that particular spot that they want to have it printed on the wall they want to have it printed in. But you are the expert. So therefore, you know the differences because you've experienced it before. And so you would be able to give them suggestions on what to do, kind of like an interior designer would. Because at that point, that's what you are. That's the hat that you're wearing at that moment. How much time? I'll spend at least an hour doing that. Now, I really should be adding in my drive time to that too. But I'm just going to keep it simple right now. So the clients are getting to see those original images. And that adds one more hour. So now we're at, we were at 7, so now we're at 8. Then the photographer does the fine tuning to the images that were chosen. Now, again, your process may be different, but that's when I do my fine tuning. And then it takes usually between 30 minutes and 3 hours, although I don't normally take that long with an image. Usually around 30 minutes is pretty normal for the artwork that I'm doing afterwards. Your process may be totally different. You may not choose to do any Photoshop or other image manipulation. So your time here may be 0. So whatever your process is, that's what it is. So for me, I need to add in, let's just say 1 more hour. It's almost always more than that. Let's say 1 more. So now we're at 9 hours. And that's incredibly conservative. In fact, I'll tell you what my average actually is. 21 hours is how much time I invest into every one of my family portrait clients. That is the average. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more, but it's almost always right around 21 because that's my process. But we're going crazy conservative here because I want you to be able to see this. So we're at least 9 hours here. If the client only orders an 8x10, if that's all they choose to order, I've had clients order just an 8x10. I've had clients order just a 5x7, although it's been years since that's happened because I've done a better job of target marketing. But I have had that in the past. If someone only ordered that $50 8x10, your 8x10 doesn't cost very much. So your cost on that 8x10 is pennies. What's a average price of an 8x10? About $2 to $5 range. Just say $5. Is that about right? $5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, 10, I think.
$10. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know there's a range because I mean different surfaces and okay. So let's say $10. And so we take $10 off. We're at 40. Take that $40 that you now have and divide it by the 9 hours that you worked.
Mm-hmm.
You just paid yourself $4.44. Why would you do such a thing? Why would you do that to yourself? You are the worst boss ever if you're doing that to yourself. If you worked for someone, you wouldn't put up with that. And yet you're working for you and you put up with it? Well, my clients won't pay that much. You got the wrong clients then. Or you have a limited belief, believing that your clients won't pay that much. I had a limiting belief, believing that my clients wouldn't pay my price, the one that I wanted to charge. I believed it. And so I was reluctant, even after I knew what my price was supposed to be. I didn't change it. I was reluctant. I was more than reluctant. I really didn't believe they would do it. But they did. They absolutely did. They want to be fair. The clients that you want to work with, the best clients, as you're defining what best is, the best clients want to pay your price. They want to do business your way. If you're working with people who don't want to do business your way, you're working with the wrong people. It's not they won't do this. It's a matter of you haven't found those who will. So you have to put yourself in a position so that you find this, so that it comes naturally to you and to your target market. And this is not that difficult. It's just most of us haven't put enough thought into it. We aren't thinking about the business side to the same degree that we're thinking about what it takes to create the image that we want to create.
And just FYI, Jim, you have Barbie Mathis on YouTube, who's just she's agreeing with everything that you said. She really loves your insight on this.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Barbie. You rock. And thank you for sharing that with me, Melissa. I appreciate it. The price that we just came up with is ridiculously low. It's way lower than minimum wage. You guys, by the way, use the guys as no gender.
No,
you guys deserve so much. Your work. I've seen so many artists work. It's incredibly amazing. You're worth way more than minimum wage. Stop doing this to yourself. This is you doing this to you. This isn't the market doing it to you. Don't be blaming other people. You can only fix problems that you choose to own. If you are in the blame mode, you aren't in fixing problems mode. You're in pushing problems away. You're in pushing blame away. Instead of saying, you know what? If I stop doing this, I won't even encounter that problem anymore. Take control. Don't encounter the problems. You have that control. As an independent artist, you've got that kind of control. Now, if you're stuck in some 9-to-5 job and there's no way that you can get out of it, maybe you don't have that kind of control in that situation. But as an independent, you have all the control. You're the one holding the cards. When you start realizing that, you start putting yourself in a position where you can become the success, the ideal version of you that you want to be. And you get to define what success is because you're independent. And it means something different to all of us. You may say, well, I'm not doing it to get rich. I just love this. It doesn't matter what your reason is, but you still have to get what you deserve. And you don't deserve less than minimum wage. If you're curious, I charge $350 for an 8x10.
Do you think it's not having a an adequate, I guess, plan of their process that kind of is the obstacle for people not, knowing what kind of price structure to sell?
Yeah, there's some definite things that have to be in place before this becomes as easy as I'm describing it.
Yeah.
Because we have to know what's in our future. We have to know what the multiple destinations that we're heading towards are so that we can plan a path to get there and place that into a timeline. This is the only thing that causes us to be able to reach, to gives us the potential to reach it. Otherwise, it's kind of like, man, I was drawing this for someone else recently. This is an example of what someone's mind looks like who's a creative. They have all these ideas all over the place, and they're all really good. They have all these experiences that they can share, and they grow because of it, whether they're good or they're bad. They have learned and become a better person, a better artist as a result of these experiences. All these ideas, all these experiences, they're all over the place. If you can fine tune them into a single line heading towards your destination, that is what's going to cause you to reach your goals, because this never will. It doesn't have the potential to. It doesn't mean that it's bad. It's good. Every one of those things represents something good, but they don't all represent something right for you and what you want out of this life. Something that I like to say, and if you've heard me before, you've heard this lots of times before, but if you haven't heard me before, maybe you haven't heard this. Artists do not sell paper, canvas, aluminum, wood. We don't sell what the lab sells. If you have a name tag, does it say Finer Works and with your name under it? If you had a name tag, it would say your name, maybe your company name and your name under it, but it wouldn't say your lab's name because you don't work for the lab. So what the lab charges is one of the variables you have to consider in your price. But I've seen people look at their prices and say, all right, this is what the lab's charging. I'm going to multiply that by X number, 5, 10. And that's what my price is going to be. Your price has nothing to do with the lab. It's just one more expense. It's no different than gas. It's another expense.
To put it in a context, Jim, it's like somebody who gets a $12 part for their engine, right? And you go to a mechanic and you're going to pay $850. It's not just because of the part. It's the time, the labor, and experience. Like, do you want somebody like, some high school kid walking out of school to work on your engine that's maybe in a nice Porsche? I'm going to guarantee you not. You want an experienced person who's going to work on your high performance vehicle to do that. The part may be $12, and a lot of us, I think the hard thing for people to overcome in the creative world is encountering people with the DIY concept that they figure, oh, I could do that myself. And you're welcome to try is what I tell people. I don't spend the energy on trying to convert that person. Just move along and let me get to my next person.
That's a good point. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And that's a good example. I often use an auto repair shop as an example because just like, so for a portrait photographer, There's lots of different ways to do pricing. I choose to do one where I charge a creation fee and then I charge for the prints. In other words, it's the same as the auto repair shop. They charge for labor and for parts and labor. I mean, you see that on the invoice, parts and labor, that they separate it out. I separate it out just like they do. I'm not saying that's the way to do it, that's best for you, because I don't know what's best for you, but I chose that to be best for me. And I've got, reasons why I choose that. But photographers, artists, do not sell the paper or whatever the medium is your creation exists on. Artists sell the creation. It just has some expenses associated with it that you've got to get back, including your own labor. If the mechanics deserve labor, why don't you? You do. Now, you may not separate it out. In fact, most artists will not, but it needs to be included in your price because you have value. No one's disagreeing with me?
Nope. Barbie says so true.
Good. I'm going to give an example. And this example is based on the last person who took advantage of my business assessment consultation and needed a price list meeting. Now, not everybody who does the business assessment consultation does price lists, but a lot of them do. So I'm going to tell you the actual numbers that person gave me. I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'm not going to tell you the reason for their numbers, but I'm going to tell you their numbers so that you can have an idea of where the pricing comes from, where you can get an idea of what that is. Now, again, I'm happy to do that for portrait photographers. For other types of art, I don't know that I'm the best for that. Generally speaking, I think I'm helpful, but I think to portrait photographers, that's where I shine. So this definitely is geared towards the portrait photography. And so I asked them at a business assessment consultation, I asked them questions. I find out who they are. My goal is to paint a picture in my mind of their life now, what they're proud of in the past, and what they would like to be proud of in the future, what they want to make happen for themselves and their loved ones. And so we have this discussion that's totally about them. Lots and lots of questions that we just, for the sole purpose of painting a picture in my mind. After those questions, I have 4 questions that are numbers questions that, generally speaking, they have an idea of the answer to, but it may require a bit of discussion in order to come to a number that we can work with. So that first question, after all the questions about who they are and what they want for their life, the first number question is, how much money would you like to bring in a year? And that number needs to consider, what do I want in this life? If I want a new car every 3 years, then it has to include this. If I want a new house or a bigger house, it's got to include things like this. And so it may be difficult at first to come with that number, but after a little bit of a discussion, we come up with a number. This particular person had a relatively low number. They said they wanted to bring in about $50,000 a year after taxes and expenses. This is relatively low. A lot of the people I work with say a higher number, some of them a lot higher. But this person said 50,000. Based on what this person does, they're going to be spending about 1/3 of their income in expenses. And their taxes could be as high as 1/3. They're probably going to be about 25%. But because we don't know and we don't want to play any games we don't want to take any chances when it comes to taxes, we just said 1/3. Now that is on the high end. This person will likely wind up with more set aside for taxes than they need to. But for purposes of keeping this easy, what we've done is taken the amount they want to bring in to their home after expenses and taxes and multiplied it by 3. And so we get a total of income that they're going to need to bring in of $150,000 in order to get their $50,000. The next question I ask, question number 2, how many weeks off ideally would you like to have per year? Now, don't just include vacation time. Also include the day here, the day there, the medical visit, the eye doctor appointment, the dentist appointment, and include those things because those will accumulate into about a week or 2. So if you want to take 4 weeks off plus have a few extra days for different things, then you may say 6 weeks off or 8 weeks off. And this particular person said 8. I'd like to have 8 weeks off per year. And that's an accumulated total. It doesn't mean all at one time. That's the second question. The third question, how many jobs or sales would you like to make in a week? In a week's time, how many sales, how many jobs would you like to do in a week? So for a portrait photographer, they may say 1. They may say, I want 1 every day. This particular person said, I want 6. I want to do 6 jobs a week. The fourth question and final question. How many hours would you like to work per week? How many hours? Now, this is total time, not just creative time. So this is also the time you spend in business and phone calls, in updating your website, everything related to your business. What's the total amount of time you'd like to invest in it? For a lot of people with 9 to 5 jobs, that's around 40 hours. Maybe they have a few extra hours, or maybe they have fewer, maybe they have more. But usually 40 hours is considered a regular work week, at least here in the US. And so a lot of people will say 40. Some of them will say, I put all the time and effort into this that I can. I'm going to put 50 or 60. Others will say, ideally, I'd like to do 30. I want to work less than I normally work so I could spend more time with family or whatever their reason is. This particular person said 30. So with those 4 answers, this person said $50,000 after taxes and expenses. This person said 8 weeks off per year. This person said 6 sessions per week and 30 hours total time per week. With those questions answered, I can tell them a lot of things about who they are price-wise. For instance, I can tell them how much they're worth per hour. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a pretty shallow, rude thing to say. I can tell you how much you're worth per hour, but it's a math equation. It doesn't deal with feelings. It's logic. It's math. With these numbers, I can actually tell you how much you're worth per hour. It's pretty darn easy. You've got to bring in $150,000 a year in order to make the 50 in this instance. You want to work 30 hours a week. We just do simple division in order to find the answer. So how much is this person worth per hour? $114. $114. That's a lot more than that $4.44 I mentioned earlier. $114. Now, that is for every single one of those 30 hours. Photographers will think, so that's how much I charge per hour? No. What? No. You're worth a lot more than that if you're only charging for photography time. It'd be like lawyers only charging for in court time. What lawyer does that? None of them. Why are you? This is not how it works. For every hour you work, every one of those 30 hours per week, you are making $114 for every single one of them if you're reaching your goal. It's just math. So this person's worth $114 an hour. They need to have, because they've got 6, they need an average sale of $568 on every single sale. By the way, an average sale of $568, if you're following the way I teach, that's ridiculously easy. I mean, wildly easy. Those who take my classes seriously usually have average sales in the $1,500 to $3,000 range. So making $500 range is, nobody does that. It's always higher than that. Again, assuming they're doing it the way that I teach. Number of weeks that they're going to work per year is 44. They said they wanted 8 weeks off. 52 minus 8 is 44. Again, it's simple math. So how much do they need to make per week in order to reach their goal? 3,409. So that's where that number comes from, of 568. We're taking the six sales I want to make per week, dividing that by the 3,409. That's what gives us 568. That's where the number comes from. So in summary, their total gross income, 150,000. Average sale, 568. Based on that, I can tell them a few more things. For instance, I can tell them how many hours they can dedicate to each and every client. I can tell them how many hours they need to be spending in marketing time versus business versus working directly with the client time. That number, they have to invest about 12 hours of time into their marketing. In my opinion, and in my experience, you need to invest somewhere between 40 and 60% of your time on marketing efforts. At least 40%. You will come up with ways to automate that process, and you will eventually get to the point where you can actually do less. But it doesn't happen that way at first. 18 hours is how much they can invest into the photography side at 30 hours. Meaning, if you take that number divided by 30, you get 3 hours per client. Total time, not photography time. Total time. This means the phone calls back and forth. This means drive time. And it's the reason why I chose a target market that was only within 10 miles of where I am, so that I don't have these huge long drive times. To work with my client. Now, from that, we can actually go even further. We can go into, based on those numbers, what your print price numbers are. But there is a little bit of speculation in this part of the equation, because we have to, when someone's new, they don't know the answer to this. And so I have to suggest or help them with it. If someone's been doing it for a while, then they actually know the answer to this question. But the question is, what does the average person buy that adds up to that average sale, in this instance of 568? This person said, let's see, the average person gets 2 8x10s, a 16 by 20, and 1 5 by 7. So that's what this person said that their average sale was. And so that number has to add up to 568. Making sense? So we have to define what if we can define the price of her 8x10, then we can actually figure out what all the other prices are. And so usually an average is about $170. Again, mine is $350, but pretty normal is about $170 to $225. I see that number all the time, but higher numbers are not unusual. And I've seen much higher numbers than mine. I know one photographer, it's $2,000 for an 8x10. So there's a huge wide range of right answers, because it's based on the individual. So this, we started it off at 170, but that actually gets us more than we need. Because the goal is to get that number to, let's see. Which one's P56? There we go. All right. So in this instance, this person, if they were to charge $50, and let's put in $50 there. If they were to charge $50 for an 8x10, and that number should have changed. There we go. All right. So this person would have to be at, and I'm doing the numbers quickly here. This person can actually do it for $60 for an 8x10 and still reach their goals, if and only if they charge a $250 creation fee or session fee, however you want to call it. So I said that $50,000 is on the lower end of what most people tell me. This person could actually do a $60 8x10 and get the number they're after if they have a $250 creation fee. Now, $250 for a creation fee is pretty normal. That's not a high number. Mine's $400. I've definitely seen higher numbers on creation fees, but I've also come across photographers that have no creation fee. So that's your business model. You do it the way that's best for you and what you're trying to accomplish. So let's say that the number was 0. Then we're going to have to charge about $100 for an 8x10. And that's this person. Everyone is different because every one of us has a different goal. Just like when you get into a car, there's a lot of other people on the road, but they're all going to different places. And every one of them is right, just as right as you are. So therefore, it does not matter where they're going. It doesn't change what you do. You have your own goals. You have to make your decisions based on those, not on what everybody else is doing. It is a curiosity to look on other people's websites to see what their prices are. It's a curiosity. I have the curiosity myself. I'm not like, it's like I'm immune to that, but it cannot in any way influence your prices. They don't have your same target market, most likely. And they also most definitely do not have your same goals, dreams, and things that cost money. Theirs are going to be different than yours, therefore different prices. This is simply a tool to help you get what you want out of life. Your price list, once you have it solid, you are confident. Your confidence soars. When someone asks how much is, you can answer the question instead of fumbling around with an answer. Maybe not even giving them one. There's nothing that looks less professional than someone who never really gives an answer to how much. At least a ballpark is appropriate. But if you don't have these numbers solidified, you're not really even able to give a ballpark figure. How do you feel about that, Melissa?
I like it. Like I said, it's giving a plan and giving, I think it gives people a list of that deer in the headlights kind of thing. Because when you ask somebody to come up with a price list, or you ask somebody to how much they want, it's the worst thing you see is them having a deer in the headlights look like no idea of what their value or their worth is.
Yeah. And that's a problem.
Giving you, they do like this. Barbie likes this on here. You also have Laura Hitchcock, who's on YouTube and also says, that the information is very valuable to her right now.
Awesome. Definitely like hearing that. Yeah. If there's, one thing I want to make sure that I'm passing along is this is not something you're plucking out of the sky. Your prices are something that is based on your goals and what you want out of this life. Most of us just haven't defined that yet. And I absolutely encourage, highly suggest that everyone does that. What do we want? What are we trying to do here? What's all this effort for? because we're all putting a lot of effort in. If there's one thing that creatives are good about, and that is wanting to do a good job, wanting to create something that they are happy with and that the person who is receiving it is thrilled with. But we fall short on that a lot of times. And I don't think it's because we don't care. I think it's because we're ignorant of certain things. And I like to define what ignorant is, because I definitely come across people who have a misunderstanding of that word. Ignorance is just the things you don't know yet. It does not define a willingness to know or ability to learn. It's just the stuff you don't know yet. And so your life, your mind, your existence has more ignorance in it than it has knowledge, because there is always a huge amount to learn that we can't possibly even be aware of. Our knowledge is small. The rest of this room represents the ignorance level. So we just know a lot less than the things well, I think you get the understanding. It's just the things we don't know. So most of us photographers, most of us creatives are just ignorant of a lot of things that we will learn over time. We'll get it on our own, maybe, but it will take years to get to come to those conclusions. I absolutely recommend having a business coach, taking business classes.
I was going to ask you about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure I do that kind of thing, but I may or may not be the right tool.
Yeah.
Take advantage of my business assessment consultation and you can decide. But for some, I'm ideal. And for others, someone else is the ideal. And sometimes it changes. I've had 5 business coaches over the years. And that doesn't mean that I didn't like them when I stopped working with them. It means that I got what I needed at that time, and I needed something else at another time. There were no hard feelings with any of the 5 that I worked with.
Yeah. Tony Sanchez says he appreciates your breakdown of the system of the process. And I think that's great. But the other thing I think you offer in this talk, Jim, that I think people, I think this would help, because even on a gallery side where people have asked me to help with original paintings and pricing, I'm going to give you, by that little sliver of that I do know of you, the painting in front of me, the person in front of me right then and there. But what you have offered that I like is where you're telling people, how much do you want to make a year? Looking at what the whole goal is. And Laura, you were asking this on an original painting thing, but what Jim has talked about that I think is great. I think a lot of artists do not see it in this way, especially when you want to make your craft, your one sole source of income, is to look at it like that, like you're defining the business. How much do you want to make in a year? Again, the questions that you were asking, how many weeks do you want to work, and how many hours within that week do you want to work? And kind of, I think taking that perspective will help a lot of people, not only in just, starting their own portrait photography business, but people who are artists who are doing paintings. That, I think, if you can come up with that amount that you want to make in a year, kind of gives you a base number, I think, for original paintings as well, because it gives you have a base number, and then you can just kind of add on to whatever elaborations that somebody asks in a commission. There's photographers that I pay for the whole experience. Roy Varga travels all over the United States with his stuff, and he's got the pinup packages that he does, but he has great setups. He has sets build. He works with area hair and makeup artists that copy, and you pay them separately. And then you have your, 30-minute, 60-minute, 90-minute photo shoot, whichever package you pick. The 20-minute editing per image you want to pick, which is actually, was really low when I thought about it, because I had seen his work so much, and I just wanted to kind of get into the whole experience of how he did all of this stuff. And I got a package and did it and was really impressed. And then he has his print package, and it's great. Same thing for artists that are just making the whole entire experience. But Jim, we are on 5:04, and I know you have about 6 minutes. Did you have more on this, or did you want to kind of talk about something that you have for next month, or anything that you want to share about photo essay?
Oh, sure. Yeah. photo essay is going to be in person for the first time in quite some time. And so we won't be simulcasting this one because we're going to be at the SA Photographers Studio rental near downtown. And that will be a week from today. So November 11th, Veterans Day. We'll be there at that studio. And I do recommend, encourage you to bring your camera and play. J.R. Days is one of the owners there, and he's going to share what things they offer and let us play with the equipment, with the lighting and photograph whatever subjects we want to. So it'll be fun.
And then next month, you're also going to have for your Photo Tips Monthly After the Photography. What is that going to cover?
Well, the name does help describe that, but let's go a little bit further. There's a lot of things that occur once you have created the images. Now, a lot of the things that you're doing is part of your process and is part of what the client has asked you to do. Or if you're doing things by speculation, it's part of your process. It's just what it is that you do. The difference between commission work and speculation work, speculative work, is you're creating really for you or a specific type of client, but you don't have the client yet. Commissioned work is where someone has paid you to do something. Either you create your own thing, or they are part of playing a role in deciding what that end result artwork is going to be. But either way, once you're done with the photography, there are steps and processes that you go through in order to complete the process. And so some of these are, and I'll be describing the ones that I go through. There's a lot of different software programs. I'm going to be lightly describing Lightroom. Now, it's not a Lightroom class. So I don't want people to have their Lightroom window open and going through it as we're talking about it, because that's not what it's about. But it is the process. What happens? What are the steps that occur after the photography is done? What happens next? What are those next steps to prepare a photograph for print?
Great. And I think that's going to help. Again, like I said, there's things that you talk about photography, and I know your experience is portrait photography, but again, just being a person who does create, I think it falls over and helps a lot of artists as well. There's a lot of parallel in there. So again, thank you so much for doing these. And I know you got to run. So is there anything?
Yeah, there's
else?
a reason why I'm wearing this.
Yeah,
it's not because it's Fancy Thursday, because I actually didn't get the memo that James sent out.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
I just got lucky.
Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Jim is the Batman. Well, we want to thank people like Elle who joined us on here, Elle, and anybody who joined us a little late on Zoom or on YouTube. Laura, Tony, if you guys want to see this, the replay will be available immediately on YouTube. Jim did provide a link in there for the 30-minute appointment time with him to do a photo business assessment. So if you want to take advantage of that, click on that. It's going to be in the chat on both, and I will try to put that into the description of the YouTube video as well, so you can easily find that. But Jim, if you want to throw control over to me, and we'll let you run off.
Yes, I got to remember how to do that. Let's see.
Hover over my name and hit where there's more. Or it might have little
Make
dots.
host.
Make host.
Do you want to change host? Yes. Okay.
I am
You're
now
the host.
Well, again, thank you so much, Jim, and we appreciate all of the time.
Absolutely.
We really do.
Thank both of you for the things that you're doing that are outside of what Finerworks has a great product, and the employees absolutely care about what they do. I've been in there several times, and every time I'm in there, something's changing, something's growing. There's excitement, there's energy in there, and so it's a fantastic place to be. But you guys expand beyond that and say, what can I do to help the people who are paying us? What can I do? What value more can I add to help them out in their life and help them grow? And this is fantastic that you're putting these efforts into helping us as creatives. Thank you very much, James and Melissa.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you, Jim.
All right. We'll see you.
Well, Jim's running off to the event. We appreciate him doing that. What I know, Laura, I hope we did get to answer your question. Like again, all of the pricing is so subjective and so individual, not even just for photographers, but for artists as well. But I just helping artists price original paintings in galleries for several years. I think what Jim was discussing might really help you think of it in a different way and look at in the long term what you want your art career to pay you, and then
Yeah.
break that down into again how many weeks of the year do you want to work, um, and then
Yeah.
also the idea of 12 hours to really invest in your
I, I,
marketing.
I think what Jim was alluding to also was that a lot of artists, especially starting artists or artists that are really starting to become serious about selling their paintings.
Mhm.
And this is the same. This is what you have with photographers as well. New photographers is that they put the emphasis on okay, how do I price my projects? They put that first without without setting their goals. What do I want my income level to be? And so
Mhm.
they really need to use that as the foundation. What do you want
Exactly.
your income level to be, whether it be a part-time income from your art or a full-time income, and use that as the basis to try to set your prices. And so that's really what we're talking about the formula is, I think.
I think that's like a great way. Laura says is it changes the way she looks at everything. We have a strong like bull soaps on here who says I make prints the prints, and they I guess he's always liked the prints, the beautiful color. So that's thank you for letting us know that. Um we have Mike on there. Thanks, great ideas. Great, Mike. We're glad to know that that helped you. And I like that you guys are commenting in YouTube's being a little weird, not letting us see how many viewers are in here. So if you want to let us know that you were at least watching, just drop a quick comment in there to let us know hello. I'm going to let James really quick tell you about some new things that are coming up here in Fine Works before we let you guys go in about 15 minutes. So if you'll stick around and we check out some really great options that we have coming for you. Go ahead,
So
James. Let them know about certs.
we're kind of excited. Matter of fact, I'll show on my screen here.
I'm going to make you.
In 1 second.
I'm going to make you host so you can share that.
So, and I need to put the link so it's more visible. Let me see. Okay. And share screen, and hopefully this may be kind of weird. Okay. Let's see if I can. Let's try this again. Google Chrome. All right. Well, I'm going to try to, if I can figure out how to grant permission. Oh, here we go. It's not letting me do it.
Not letting you share your screen?
No, I'm on a new Mac and it's not.
Oh,
And they're the security settings. Maybe it's under screen recording now.
while James is also doing that, I just want to
I'm
also give you
figuring
guys
this out.
uh, a reminder to open up your last, or is it second to last, newsletter from Finer Works. We actually have released the holiday deadlines. So if you guys will take a look at that, be mindful right now, guys, of your framing orders. Try to get those in as soon as possible. Framing will probably take the longest of all the different order things, again, just because of getting the raw material in. So make sure to get those in and look at that email. I will also post tomorrow those deadlines so you can see that. And I think James is ready, so I'm going to let him talk about certificates that you're going to be able to have with your prints.
So yeah, this is an exciting thing. We kind of are rushing it out, just because there's been a demand for it, and so there might be a few bugs. Hopefully not, but anyway, we have these new certificate of authenticity. Now these can be ordered blank, or they can be ordered. You can actually fill out the fields online. And they're $10 each. Although if you change the quantity to, say, I think 5, then they drop down to let's see, I think that changes the price. Yeah, changes them down to $7 each, and then I'm not sure what the price break is. So you can actually order a whole bunch of blank ones if you wanted to, but essentially allows you to enter the title, say hello world. You can enter your name. We'll say my name, and then something about the artwork. Usually this is where, if you're doing prints, you're going to be putting, the type of inks used, and so forth, the media used, just a basic description of the print itself. Now you can also select an image that you want to have displayed, and this will open up some images. I'll just select one here from this painting I scanned. Oh, where was it? This painting I scanned the other day. Here it is. There we go. And so we'll add the thumbnail as well. And then you just add it to your cart. Now, in this case, I did 47. I'll probably just do one. There we go. It runs a little slow still, but we're going to improve that. Now, if you already have, if you're ordering a print, you want to include a certificate with about that print, or a certificate that represents that print, you can do that as well. I did one here. Let me go ahead and remove it and do it all over again. And a lot of those fields will be filled out already. So I'm going to add a new certificate of authenticity. And then image to display. Actually, it should select the image that we have already, so you can leave that blank. This is the title, artist name. Now you can always refresh the preview here as well, and it will gather some information from our printing process and fill that out already, and actually even assign a registration number. So it will be registered with us when you order a print in cart. And then just add to cart, and you do have 3 different templates that you can choose from, 3 different color schemes, and then that will be shipped out and included with the actual print itself. So that's in a nutshell how that works.
And will Hammermill certificates still be available?
The Hammermill certificates which are blank certificates that you can, and I'll take you to the link here. So this is a different item. Now this particular item is part of a program offered through Hammermill, and these are just blank pages that you would run through your inkjet printer. You come up with your own certificate design. Now it does include a holographic seal, Hammermill seal, and a serial number, so that you can actually register it with Hammermill's art registry website. There is a how-to video on how to do that right here. Again, this would be a blank certificate. You'd come up with your own design, and all it does is provide you the piece of paper, which is a nice paper, by the way. It's kind of hand torn effect. So they provide you the paper as well as the seal, the registration seal.
Mhm.
And they actually provide you two, one you put on your artwork, one you put on the certificate. So that program is a little bit different. So whereas ours is, and both are offered through Finer Works, but our proprietary one is a little bit more connected already.
Great. Hey, James. So exciting and awesome. Okay, well, Laura loves that. So yeah, you'll have that up on the site soon, right?
Yeah, it's actually up there now. Like I said, it has a few bugs. It works, but sometimes the buttons don't respond
Okay.
right away. So we're trying to fix that and get some feedback as well from our customers uh, as to how we can make some improvements on that. It's brand new, just came out today.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that. Let's see, is there anything else you want to cover before we go, James? We had search, we talked about holiday deadlines.
Holiday deadlines have been sent out in our newsletter. We're going to try. I need to get those posted as well on our website. I'll try to get that done this weekend, or have someone do that this weekend. And then we do have a sale coming up, I believe. I'll give it just kind of a little sneak preview. It should be on die bond print sale. Supposed to be, I think, this weekend. So keep an eye out for that if you're wanting to do some die bond prints. Also, we've had a few people get a little confused about our die bond prints versus our Chromolux prints. On our blog, which you can find in our support blog, we posted an article kind of describing the differences between the two, because we've had people that are looking for certain looks and order the one that, not the one they should have, but they ordered the other one. So there's two types of metal prints: a Chromolux and a die bond metal print. And so read that closely. It's not a hard read, but just read it, and it should give you a good idea as far as the difference.
Great. And I'll put that link up on our in our comments section of our description of the video, so you guys can find this on YouTube. And with that, I guess we're all set to start the crazy Christmas season, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're already starting to kind of enter into that. So
Yeah.
we are right now, we're running a little behind on canvas. We had some supply issues with the stretcher bars, which we've resolved since then, but we are getting caught up. Should have those caught up over the weekend.
Right. Like I said, guys, it's the crazy Christmas madness starts now. So if you're having any, if you need to find out about an order, just contact customer service with your order number, and they will check in on that. But just know, prepare for a little bit longer. If you go onto our website, scroll to the bottom, you'll see turnaround times. Those are our normal turnaround times. I said during Christmas, those get extended a little bit. So just be mindful of that. Get in orders as soon as possible. And we'll have some great sales coming out soon during Christmas time to make those a little more, give you a good savings during that time period when everybody needs to save a little bit of money.
Sure,
But
absolutely.
so we will see you guys next month. And hopefully soon we'll be able to show you our new front lobby. And we hope a lot of you who are in the San Antonio area will come down and check out the lobby. We'll let you know when it's up. And y'all have a great week, a great month, and we'll see y'all in December.